Hi there, Sam Neffendorf here, and today I'm going to share with you some information that I think is absolutely key to understanding why you're ill. So the question, why am I sick? Or why have I got a disease and why now? And this is the disease process from Meta Health. And Meta Health is an integrated health coaching methodology which is all about finding the actual root cause to which is the thing behind the stress which has led to sickness or a disease. And this is a disease process. So basically, most people think that they got ill at the time that they started noticing symptoms, whatever those symptoms are. Let's say it was eczema or something, and then they go to the doctor, get some cream or get some pills, and that might get rid of the symptoms for a while, but chances are they'll come back. Really interesting thing is that although doctors are very good at treating a lot of the symptoms, if you actually look in the Merck manual, which is the main diagnostic tool used by many doctors, it's something like 80 to 85% of conditions are cause unknown, which is, that's a lot. And it's widely believed that the cause is stress. The thing is, though, stress isn't actually a cause. Well, it is a cause, it's causing something, but it's not the original cause. Stress is just a symptom of something else. And from the Meta Health perspective, stress is actually a symptom that follows on from a specific kind of shocking event or series of events or period of conflict that happened in somebody's life, and the disease symptoms that are happening, rather than being the body making a mistake, body malfunctioning, are part of an intelligent process that the body's going through to try to adapt so that it can deal with this kind of stress and this kind of particular conflict shock in the future. So the really interesting thing is that I'm just going to use the counter on this picture here. The time when people generally go to the doctors, generally it would be around this stage 4, or just after, or even afterwards, down into this stage 5, which is actually on here shown as regeneration. But this is when symptoms actually usually start to appear, and then the medicine will actually take people back, typically back into the stress phase, where symptoms disappear. So I'll just talk through the actual whole process now. And so just starting here is normal health. So someone's just having a day-to-day life, and then something happens. This number 2 here, the stress trigger. This is a conflict shock, an unexpected, unpleasant event. Completely subjective, because what some people find to be a shock and a conflict isn't for other people. So all of this is based on an individual's perception and beliefs, which is really interesting. But this stress trigger has to be something that for that person was unexpected, dramatic, so it was a big deal and it was shocking, it was isolating. So in that moment, they felt that they had to deal with it alone, whether they couldn't tell anyone or they felt on their own in that moment. And they also had no strategy to deal with it. So really what happens is the body goes into a freeze response at that stage. And it's then information goes into the body, and it goes into the heart, the brain, and a particular organ or body tissue based on which part of the brain structure it actually, this conflict shock actually hits. This is all measurable. They've measured it in CT scans, and you can see these conflict shocks actually form rings in the brain. It's really interesting. But I'm going to go into the brain relays in another video, which will be coming up soon. But today I just want to say that, so if stress happens, and immediately then this person goes into this stress phase, which is a time where they've got all the symptoms of stress. So they're tense, it might be obsessive thinking, finding it hard to sleep, losing weight. It's not all bad being in a stress phase. Stress phase is a normal response to a lot of things. It's like the fight flight response, being ready. It could have things like high blood pressure, and maybe a nervous disposition, so having anxiety a lot. So that could all be going on in the stress phase. And this stress phase can actually go on for a very long time. Some people can be in this for years, and this is just showing in relation to one particular symptom and one event, but really we've got these sorts of events happening to a greater or lesser level throughout our life all the time. And that's absolutely fine, because the body naturally goes through this cycle most of the time, but sometimes things get stuck, and that's where the Meta Health can start helping you. But after the stress phase, which might have gone on for a day, a week, a year, 20 years, something happens, which it's called a regeneration trigger here. It's an aha moment where or an acceptance that actually enables you to, all being well, accept the stress trigger and move on. And then the body no longer needs the adaptations that it has made during the stress phase, and it kicks into the regeneration trigger. And around here, this is really when most people will go to the doctors. So you've got so this first part, the thing is, it's the time when people feel ill. So they feel tired, they feel they might be putting on weight, sweating a lot, could have a fever. All sorts of things would be going on in this stage. Often it can be extreme tiredness going on for a long time. So people start feeling pretty rough, especially if they're not aware what's going on in their body. And so then they'll go and get some treatment for that. And often during this phase is the time when you see symptom growth as well. For example, if it's eczema, the skin is actually getting red and sore in certain areas, depending on what the specific conflict shock was, would be the kind of problems that are coming up. So it would be, so people might be developing a tumor at this stage, or a growth of some sort. And, these are things which people think, well, that's a dangerous thing, and then go to doctors and actually something gets done about it. But it's all part of this regeneration. And then going into what happens here is you get a healing peak where the body, pretty much every time, at some point during a regeneration, the time when you're feeling rough, it'll be an event which really is kicking you back into the stress phase again. And it's called a healing peak. It's not a healing crisis, although it's the same thing, but we moved away from that word because it implies that it's a bad thing that's happening, whereas actually it shows it's a real key sign of healing. So the healing peaks, again, they can be anything, ranging from that day in the middle of a flu when you feel healthy and you think, oh, maybe I could go out to lunch, I don't feel so bad anymore, and then the flu kicks in again that night and you feel absolutely lousy. But it can also be, they can be unpleasant things happening as well. So you can get things like migraine. A migraine is a healing peak. An epileptic fit is a healing peak. And when someone's having those sorts of things happening, although this looks like it's just a one-off thing, you could go through this whole disease process many times in a day. So if someone was having, say, 20 epileptic fits a day, then it could actually be going through this whole process and having loads of healing peaks throughout the day, because there's something stuck. The body hasn't adapted. The body hasn't been able to let go of whatever it was that the stress trigger was. Chronic disease processes are the same thing. Even a heart attack is a healing peak. It's actually a survival test. This is all based on. This is based on what's happening in the wild. It's what's natural things going on with animals, and it's it's a really I guess it's really like a structural test to see whether you are your body's able to deal with those sorts of stresses again and continue. But then after the healing peak, then we go into regeneration phase B, which is really the return back to normal health. So you don't feel as bad in this stage as you did, right down in the depths of regeneration phase A. You're starting to feel better, things feeling a little bit different. And then gradually you come back to auto-regulation, which is where all of the body's systems return back to normal, and then go into back to your normal stage of health. And that all happens naturally all the time for many people, but it is possible to get stuck at any stage in the process. And this conflict shock, this stress trigger, which is latched on to an organ, it can be, and of course there can be loads of organs affected by different shocks at any time, which can manifest as all sorts of body and mind symptoms as well, which are called behavior patterns. Something I'll cover in another video. But the fact that something gets stuck means that maybe you need to find out actually what the root cause is and actually treat it in some way. And that could be any way. The beauty of Meta Health is it's an agnostic system. This isn't a therapy at all. It's about really finding the root cause in a very precise way. And then you can use whatever treatments feel appropriate, whether that's conventional medicine or holistic medicine, or making lifestyle changes, which are known as lifestyle prescriptions. So things which can actually bring more vitality and joy into your life and resolve the symptoms naturally. Resolving the old stress trigger. So, an example of that would be, let's say someone found their partner cheating on them, and they went into stress phase. There could be particular symptoms that would come out of that, depending on their own personal interpretation of that actual event. But a regeneration trigger could be getting a new partner, meeting someone new, and that actually becomes the full regeneration from it, and acceptance. That might be one example. But you need to find them out. And what usually happens is that people, whether it's with conventional medicine or holistic medicine, are treating what happened at the time that the person apparently got ill. So stage 4 here, the regeneration triggered to stage 5. So people will be asking questions, even, if with EFT or something like that, people be asking, what was happening at the time that you noticed the symptoms? And then they'll do lots of work on that. And that will actually take people out of regeneration phase, and they'll get back to this regeneration trigger and be like, great, yes, I feel better. But then they slide back into the symptoms again. The reason this model is so powerful with the Meta Health is that you're going back further to a time way before, which you may not even have recognized as the cause, because they are separated by time. But the Meta Health process enables you to actually go back and identify what those specific stress triggers are, as well as the patterns in your life that and the beliefs which have led to that as well. And by treating all of that, along with making lifestyle choices, changing your lifestyle, increasing your vitality is a way to actually really, move beyond these disease states, out of a disease process, back to normal, marvelous health for your body. So actually becoming really, really healthy, and seeing that. And so it's a really, really powerful process to go through. You learn so much from it as well. It's not just about healing your body. All of these symptoms, any symptoms, are actually clues to what's going on deep inside you, and can give you a real insight into who you are, and also who you can become and what you're able to actually do. So your symptoms become a part of your journey to back to wholeness, and really having a fantastic life. If you'd like to find out anything more about Meta Health, then I'm really happy to offer you a 30-minute Discover Meta Health consultation, where you'll actually get clear on the kind of meaning behind a symptom that you've got, get to understand this process in more depth, get to know more about the specific parts of your brain that are impacted by these conflict shocks, and how that affects your body, and then how you can use that information to not only get rid of your symptoms, but to improve your health all round, and also start actualizing some of the things which are really valuable and important to you in your life. So the details are below, and if you've got any questions, just drop me a line. I'd love to speak with you. Cheers then.